Hello, welcome to the Fifth Star. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Albert.
And this is a podcast where we're trying to find our next 5-star rated movie. And when we can agree on a 5-star rating, this podcast will be closed down for good.
So on this episode, we are reviewing Snack Shack, which came out in 2024. And it is about two 14-year-olds in the summer of 1991 in Nebraska. And they are trying to make some money at the Pool Snack Shack. So we wrote down secretly what we rated this movie. I'm going to guess, Jamie, that you gave it a 3.0.
I'm going to guess that you gave it a 2.5.
Okay, 2.5. And we will give our initial spoiler-free thoughts, and then we'll reveal our scores. So, Jamie, what did you think of Snack Shack?
So, very mixed.
Okay.
I feel like the movie felt really authentic. Like, the characters felt very authentic and real. The time period felt pretty real, although it didn't feel nostalgia-baity.
Okay.
Dialogue felt natural. My biggest pet peeve was that it did the thing that I do not like, which is cutting a scene off before it's really started. And this movie continued to do that like the whole time, where we'd get to a really important scene and then they'd just cut to something else. And then I'd be like, wait. Like, I need you to unpack that more. Like, I need you to really, like, focus in on something. It made me feel like I had ADHD.
Yeah.
Like, all the bouncing around and then not wanting to really linger in a moment. And then it kind of made the setups and payoffs not really pay off for me. And then there were some kind of random things that happened.
Yeah.
That I'm still really not sure how they connect. It kind of was a montage.
Yeah.
The whole movie was sort of
it's
a
like
montage.
a summer montage highlight reel of some kids just doing stuff throughout the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah, I think I was fairly mixed too. I think as the movie, it started off with a certain type of vibe.
Yeah.
It's more of a comedy. And it like from the opening title sequence and the overall vibe, it takes place in the early 90s. I
Super
felt
upbeat.
Yeah. And the kind of humor and like snappy editing, and the parents as the characters are really like kind of quirky. And so overall, and it's about, I mean, they're 14, so I guess it's the summer before they start high school. But it had that kind of Fast Times at Ridgemont High type of vibe for me. It's like a 80s nostalgic comedy kind of thing, or like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So it was giving me a lot of that. And I was kind of liking that. I thought it was pretty good. But then as the movie goes on, it starts to change. So we can talk about that later. But I didn't really like where it ultimately ended.
Yeah.
But it does star Connor Sherry and Gabriel LaBelle. Gabriel LaBelle from Saturday Night Live. Or Saturday Night, right? And Fabelmans, yeah. So it was interesting to see him here. He's very different from those other movies.
He could not pass for a 14-year-old. No way.
So I actually like looked at, based on the year that it was filmed and what his birth year is. It seems like was 20 when he was filming this. And then actually, who do you think was older, Connor Sherry or Gabriel LaBelle?
I would guess Gabriel is older.
Yeah, he looked older, right?
Is Connor's
older? Like 2 years older. Isn't that weird? But yeah, Connor Sherry was like 22.
So okay, wow. He was like a lot close. I was like, he looks like he's 16.
Yeah.
And then LaBelle looked like he was 22.
Yeah. So, they're both kind of early in their career. LaBelle's definitely done more.
Yeah.
But apparently when he got notified that he got this role, he was filming on the set of Fabelmans. So it was kind of before he
blew up. Okay.
Kind of well known.
He's so different in this movie than the other two.
Yeah. And I thought he was good. I liked his character. Connor, he is like completely an unknown actor. He was in UCLA during COVID in his room, and then like submitted a audition tape, and then like found out he got it.
Wow.
So yeah, it was kind of like a big break kind of moment for him.
Yeah.
Getting to star in this. And yeah, like I agree, they don't really pass for as 14-year-olds, but I don't know, they kind of they do that in so many movies.
Well, I just saw my cousin's kid this weekend, and he's 14, or he's about to be 14.
Yeah, and
looks completely different.
Yeah, I mean, like,
so much younger.
I mean, like, Gabriel LaBelle is like jacked, you
I know.
and you're like,
I
I don't know if 14-year-old can be that like built.
I was like, they could both pass for maybe even 16 would be stretching it. Like at least 18. I thought they were seniors, like about to be seniors in college.
Yeah.
At the beginning, and then they kept saying they were 14, and I was like,
yeah,
are they lying about their age? Like.
No, they were lying and saying they were 16.
How did they know? This happens in like the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
How did they know how to brew their own beer? Because they didn't have YouTube in 91.
Oh, that's true. I was going to say YouTube, obviously. You're right.
Like, they
I
didn't
guess
have
he went to the
YouTube.
library and got
They
a
must
book.
have read books.
Yeah.
That's crazy. A 14-year-old learning how to run a business and brew their own beer. And they did a lot of stuff that I was like, whoa, they're really advanced for 14-year-olds.
And, you said that this feels kind of authentic. And I think that comes from, this is written and directed by Adam Reimer. And this is maybe his second feature, but it all is, I think, semi-autobiographical. Like it takes place in the same city that he grew up in. So I don't know how much of it he's pulling from his own experience, but he knows the setting and the time period, and it also was completely filmed in Nebraska.
Wow.
So I think because of those things, like it kind of does lend itself to some of that. But with all that said, some of the characters and settings, it's intentionally like over the top. It's, especially in the first half where they're trying to be more funny. So like the high school bullies, like they're completely ridiculous, over the top caricatures, and
they look like they're in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought that was kind of fun. I liked the really heavy focus on them trying to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And they're like these smart kids who are, hustling. They're going to the off-track betting and playing poker and all this kind of stuff, and brewing beer, and not just brewing it, like selling it, like labeling it. So they're full-on entrepreneurs, trying to find every which way to make a buck.
Yeah.
And which gets them into this whole kind of situation with the snack shack, right? And I think that's the part of the movie I like the most.
Yeah.
But
then it gets away from that.
It does.
Completely,
yeah. And it gets into the whole girl next door, love story, love triangle.
She was like the worst.
Oh, you thought so? I thought she was okay.
I thought she was just a very selfish person. Like, I just kept getting irritated by her choices.
Why?
Why
was she being selfish?
Because she was like toying with him, but then dating his best friend, but then still toying with him while dating his best friend. And then she was just kind of a jerk to me. And I didn't like her. I kind of liked her more towards the end. Okay. But all of her choices leading up to that, I was like, dude, she's kind of the worst.
So
if the roles were reversed and it was two girls and a guy, that guy would be a complete like D-bag.
I could see that. So I did feel like that initially. And she's completely out of his league, potentially is cast like she might be older than them even. But yeah, I started off kind of feeling similar to you about her, but I do think it made sense. Like, she's there just for the summer. She says she just kind of wants to have fun. And so then I didn't mind it as much. When I kind of minded her more as a character was when it actually started becoming more serious. Like, it became like a real like love story. And I just felt like all those love story type things were so cheesy. There's certain scenes that it felt so overly sentimental and cheesy.
Yeah.
But it did remind me of The Girl Next Door, the movie with Emile Hirsch. And it's a similar kind of setup. Like, he's, there's a very attractive girl that lives next door who's clearly out of his league, and it's about this kind of high school teen like love thing that happens between the two of them. But that movie is done in a way that's so much more believable and convincing, whereas this movie was just so like almost cringy, cheesy when they start to genuinely fall in love. And I don't know, to me, this movie would have been so much better if it stayed as 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like, they actually casted middle schoolers.
Yeah, that would have been so much funnier.
It would have been so much fun, right?
Because
them all acting old.
And they would have been even more cringy and derpy.
Yes, for sure. And then the other part of it that I thought it was kind of going, but it totally swerved, was I was thinking this would kind of be like a middle schoolers like version of them trying to be like Wolf on Wall Street.
Yeah. And which that was what it was setting it up
yes,
for. Yeah.
Like a kind of teen version of like a Scorsese type movie, like them just acting like gangsters and hustlers, and
they kept swearing and talking really fast.
Yes.
And yeah.
And if it just kind of like stayed in that lane and really finished that train of thought, I think I would have enjoyed this movie a lot better, more. Yeah.
Them dressing up in the suits even.
Yeah, I know, with the glasses and everything, and
that would have been good. I would have liked that.
And we will get into more detailed spoilers, but I will say, ultimately this is, really about a friendship.
Yeah.
About two guys, right?
Yeah.
Very kind of super bad or book smart, that type of thing. But the thing that comes between them is this girl. But I thought, if in keeping with the whole entrepreneurship type thing, what would have been great, more Wolf of Wall Street type thing, is as they get successful, the money gets in the way of their friendship.
Which is where I thought it was going.
That would have been so much more interesting.
They were setting it up because one of them was like, the vision guy.
Yes.
And that would have been a great conflict, but they never really acted on that.
Yeah, so we'll have to get more into spoilers, but I did want to ask, did you have any weird, odd summer jobs, like working a snack shack or being a lifeguard? Or
not really.
And that's a big setting of the movie.
I basically just babysat and tutored. I
don't think I had any summer jobs, like, ever.
Really?
Yeah. The only thing I had that was close was like internships in high school, like summer internship.
Oh,
so I spent the summer in like Ann Arbor on the campus of University of Michigan, and that was kind of like,
when you were in high school?
Yeah, it was like a program, like a national program thing. So I got placed there, and it's like still like had summer at the pool with like other kids from around the country, and stuff like that, and like a summer fling type thing, so some of like what the setting is, especially like being a boy in the summer with like middle school, like I was able to identify with some of that, but I definitely wasn't able to identify with the kind of working the summer job type of thing. And it did seem like it would be fun, just like working with a friend and making some money. And
all right, let's get into spoilers then. So you guessed that I would give it a 3.
I'm guessing I got
it right.
And you were
spot on.
Nice.
3.0.
And you guessed I would give it a 2.5, and I did give it a 2.5.
Dude, I
know, we are getting good.
I guess 2 in a row.
Yeah.
That we both got
I guess after we explained how we actually rate things.
Yeah, honestly, that helped a ton. Although, I'll be honest, I was between a 3 and a 2.5 for you. Like, I couldn't decide. But you do tend to be more harsh. And I honestly
resent that comment.
I honestly was closer to 2.5 too.
Yeah. So I was at a 3.0 for a bulk of the movie.
Yeah.
But then as it started, and we're getting to spoilers, right?
Yep.
As it got into the whole like love triangle and all of that, it just started going downhill for me.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, I thought like the first half would be a little bit of a turnoff because they're just like, swearing all the time just for the point of like being like that because they're just like little boys,
Yeah.
And there were parts of it that just was kind of very like, very middle school boy.
I'm actually with
that
you
I
though.
Thought you would be annoyed
I'm
by.
actually with you in that like I thought the first half of the movie was really going somewhere.
Oh, nice.
And I really was, excited to see where that was going.
Mm-hmm.
So like we were saying earlier about the whole like money being a conflict, they really set up the whole that Moose is like the vision guy. Like he's the salesman. He's the one
talker,
going around. Yeah.
The hustler.
Charisma.
Yep.
And then he's making AJ do like all the brunt work, even though AJ kind of seems to be a bit smarter just because he's better at like betting and playing poker. I don't know. And so I was like, oh, they're really gonna, get into this tension between them. And then the snack shack, I mean, that's what it's called. So most of the movie is gonna be at the snack shack. And I'm assuming all the conflict is gonna be at the Snack Shack. And then, yeah, it like completely got away from it. And then it just became about this like conflict with the girl. And then the love triangle comes to a head. And then Moose is super mad. And this was the scene I was really mad that they cut short, was he follows Moose after Moose sees them kissing.
Yeah.
And then they're going to talk, and I'm like, oh, they're going to have like a big argument.
Yes.
And like, this is going to be a big, and then Moose just punches him in the face.
And then the other guy
AJ
just
walks away and leaves. And then they like don't talk again until like the very end of the movie. And I was like,
yeah,
what?
I agree.
Like, what was the point of all that setup just for it to be about a girl and just one punch and like,
yeah,
so much of it.
And I get that you're boys and you can't express your feelings and all that kind of stuff, but
like that was the moment to have a big argument.
Yeah, you're waiting for that kind of like face to face, and it just like is over with a punch, and then they just ignore each other.
Yeah, because like AJ's had a problem communicating the whole movie, and so that was like his chance to communicate and maybe even tell Moose like, hey, I've been into this whole time.
Yeah.
And you like swooped in and didn't even talk to me.
So that's the other thing that was bothering me was I was like, Moose, he's such a bad friend because like he stole the guy's girl and all that. And then I realized, wait, AJ never even told his best friend that he
never made a
really
move.
liked her.
Right.
And and then so, Moose just goes after her, and then they're like, hooking up, and he's all upset. But first of all, it's like if you're his best friend, you would have either told him, or you would have like the other guy should kind of realize that you like them, you like the girl or something. But the two are just completely oblivious.
Yeah,
from
they don't
what each other is going through and feeling.
Yeah,
and then so actually I can understand why Moose gets upset, because from his perspective, like he went after this girl and AJ's the one, who lied about, I'm tired, I don't want to stay in. And the next thing he sees her with her, So I can understand all that, but they never actually say it ever.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that kind of gets, it's just got a little annoying, because I'm like, man, like.
Well, and they kept setting up that tension.
Yes.
That never paid off.
I know.
Really.
I agree.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the friend.
Okay, the friend whose name is Shane, right?
Yep.
He's like some army
older
vet.
Influence.
Yeah, he's older. My question was, who is this guy?
How do they know each other?
Yeah.
Are they like neighbors?
Right?
I didn't.
Family friends? I mean, he's close with the parents.
See, and part of me liked that they didn't really establish stuff, like they didn't do exposition.
Yeah.
Part of me was like, ooh, I kind of like that I'm just being thrown in. But then, like, as the story progressed, I was like, oh, clearly they have a really tight relationship.
Yes.
But never do they explain how or why.
Like, why would a guy who's like maybe in his early 20s hang out with a middle schooler and be so nice to him and look after him on all this stuff?
We're going to Alaska together.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are you going to Alaska together?
It was to the point where I was even getting some like vibes of, wait, is he like gay and like trying to like,
is he grooming him?
Yeah, that's like, why is he trying to pitch this like, trip to Alaska where the two of them are gonna go together and he's gonna take him hunting? And
okay, I'm glad we both missed something then.
No, they just never explained it.
Okay,
and then not only that, like he is so integral to the whole story because he's constantly like showing up at certain key moments.
Yeah.
And I realized he's a MacGuffin.
He's a MacGuffin, but he's also the mentor. Like the archetype.
That's true. But first of all, like, what does our character want? Why do they need to make money? Well, apparently it's so he can save up money to go to Alaska.
But that's established after they get the Snack Shack.
Yes, which is another weird thing because the whole like fake out of them trying to outbid the other guys who usually run the Snack Shack, the guys give them a fake number, $3,000, so they put down a $3,001, right? By getting in trouble from their parents and blah, 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 all this stuff. That was fun. I like that, right?
Yeah.
But then the whole point should be, oh man, we're so much in the hole. We have to like try to make this money back. And then the first day, like I thought it had like good stakes set, and then he has to go to military school because he's in trouble. First day, boom, they make over $1,000.
Set up and payoff again.
I'm
no
like,
payoff.
Yeah.
No payoff.
I was like, what? Is that easy? And then, so that's why they need another reason for him to like make more money and save up money, right? Because now he has to go to Alaska. Why not just have it be like the first day they make like $40 and they're like, oh my gosh, how were we ever going to make this money back? You know? And then they got to do more and more crazy things and get more into more and more trouble to try to make up money. And they get deeper and deeper in the hole, you know, and ultimately they're going to learn some life lesson, right?
Yeah. And I kept thinking like, oh, the false defeat is early because he like loses all the beer, loses all the money, and then is being threatened with military school right at like the beginning of the movie,
which was a good setup of like good stakes.
I was like, okay, wow, this is like an early false defeat. I don't think we're in Act 2 yet. Maybe we are. And then false victory immediately after, but then it wasn't a false victory, it was just a legit victory. And I was like, wait, is the movie over? No, because now we're going to tell a new story.
And then, so not only do they recoup most of their money, debt right away, but also, like, there's never a mention of military school ever again.
And he appeases his parents, like, really quick, too. I think it was the midpoint.
By making a lot of money. So it's like, okay, so all of it pays off. You can do all this sketchy stuff. And, like
you learned your lesson.
Yeah, money will find your way out of it, you know, like. But so with Shane, I think it ends up becoming like he's important because now there's a new plot device that he needs to save up money.
Yeah.
And then he's always the guy who, when there's a misunderstanding, now he's the one who's going to come in and tell him like what he misunderstood about the whole love situation. And then when everything is all messed up between, you know, AJ and Moose, which was the whole, like, that's the Dark Knight Head Cell, yes, where the two of them are just not talking to each other and all that. It's his death that ultimately brings them together. Oh, come on. That's such a cop-out.
Such a contrived narrative there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like you just kill him off. And so, you know, usually a MacGuffin is like an object or something like that. But I was like, this is, I think, the first time where I've, like, it's very clear this person is just a MacGuffin.
Just a MacGuffin. Just
like,
a plot device.
They have no backstory, no, like, you know, we don't know anything about this person. They exist just to advance the character to the next plot point.
Yeah. And then, like, the gift at the end with the, like, photo of them, I was like, oh, that's sweet. But it was hollow.
Yeah.
Like, it was completely hollow because, like, I never really understood their relationship.
Yes.
Like what she said. And then I never really, like, felt connected to their characters.
Yeah. So when he died, did you feel, like, sad for him?
I kind of called it. Kind of saw it coming.
Okay.
Because I think, like, as soon as the dad, you know, interrupts and he looks really sad, I was like, oh, somebody died. And the only character that could have died, like, for this movie, they're not going to kill the best friend. So it has to be Shane.
I thought it was going to be the mom.
that wouldn't really matter because the mom only had like 2 scenes in the whole movie. Yeah, that's true. So yeah. And then, yeah. If they had done a better job maybe setting Shane up and like establishing their relationship, maybe it would have had a deeper punch. But I completely agree that should not have been the reason that like brought the 2 friends back together. Like they should have been able to work through it in some other way. Like when he comes to the snack shack and it's been completely demolished, I was like, okay, they're gonna talk it out now. And then they didn't. And then I was like, okay, like something's gonna happen to make them talk about it, and they end up just like glossing over it.
Yeah, because they never even talk about it.
They never do. It just kind of like ignored.
But it makes sense. Even if you are fighting with your best friend, right?
Yeah.
If one of their closest friends suddenly dies and tragically,
like, but it's not satisfying.
You're not gonna be giving them a cold shoulder, right? You're gonna go over and give them a hug, and that was a nice moment. But then the next time they talk, it's like, oh, are we cool? It's like, yeah, we're cool. It's like, okay.
It's not satisfying.
Yeah, it wasn't. And not only just with the friendship, but even with the, you know, misunderstanding that AJ had with Brooke. You know, tries to talk to her. She gives him the cold shoulder when he tries to apologize. And then boom, very next scene, she comes knocking and then comes in, tries to make out with him and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, why? Oh, because she suddenly got orders that they're moving. So now she's gonna
that
try
was
to.
so weird. I was like, wait, she was mad at him.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to stay mad. Like,
I
nothing
don't know.
has happened to make you not mad
But
anymore.
it kind of made sense because she's moving in a week and she doesn't want to.
That
You know, she
just-
wants to
that
enjoy the
just
last
makes me,
week together.
like, dislike her even more, though. Like, every choice that she makes is just so selfish.
Mm.
Like, she almost never does anything selfless
But
in the
see,
movie.
even that, like, I can understand how hard that must be. Like, if you're constantly moving, right, and you can't ever like build friendships.
Yeah,
or
but that doesn't
relationships.
give you an excuse to, like, use people.
But
for
even
your
if she
own
did,
benefit.
like, show us that. Show us scenes of her like going through that. Kind
Yeah,
of
show us her
conflict and-
learning
Yes.
not to do that.
Yeah,
Then I would have liked her.
exactly. But so it's okay that you have flawed characters.
Just make them learn.
Yeah, make them learn, but also develop it.
Yeah.
Don't just have them act and have us have to assume why they're acting that way.
Yeah, I agree. And I do feel like she grew a little bit at the end, but then it does kind of feel like when she leaves, she could very easily revert back to who she used to be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So overall, I would say it was kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
I do think the setup and the premise was very promising.
Yeah.
And if they had just continued that stream of consciousness or that train of thought,
Yeah.
oh man, I think this movie could have really been great.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I did land at a 3 because I think like the quality of acting and writing was still really good, even though the plot wasn't very well structured, but
Yeah.
that's why I
The
landed at.
performances were fun.
Yeah.
I think so. All right. Well, if you guys saw Snack Shack, let us know what you think.
Mhm.
And
And you can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Letterboxd, or Apple Podcasts.
yep. And join us next week as we continue our quest for the 5th star.